Hello, my name is Dr. Rob Yeung. I'm a performance psychologist and a coach at a consultancy called Talent Space. And I'd like to talk to you about how you can use your body language to good effect in the workplace. Now, the first point I want to make is that actually your body posture is not the biggest factor determining your impact on an audience. So the main factor determining your impact is actually what you say. So that's true whether you're networking, whether you're talking about your qualities in a job interview, or whether you're giving a presentation to clients or perhaps a pitch to customers. So make sure you know what you want to say. Work out your arguments, make sure you have good examples to share, and make sure you know what stories you wish to tell. Now, on to body language itself. One way that you can use your body language is to build up your sense of power and confidence. So back in 2010, some researchers led by Dana Carney, who's at Columbia University, looked at the effects of expansive, open postures versus closed, contracted postures on people's perceptions of them. And what they found was that people who adopted, so this is a contracted, closed position with, say, legs crossed, arms are crossed as well, perhaps the shoulders and chin down. Whereas an expansive posture means taking an exaggeratedly wide stance with the feet, and perhaps hands on hips and chin and chest up. Now, you're not going to actually adopt this posture in front of people, but let me talk you through the science. So when people adopted this expansive posture, people felt more confident and in charge. And what this research group also found was that people's levels of testosterone were raised and levels of the stress hormone cortisol were actually reduced as well. However, there has been a lot of media attention and controversy about this finding. So videos about this type of posture work have received millions of hits all over the world. But later researchers have not actually found any benefit in terms of testosterone or cortisol. However, most researchers have still found that it helps people to psychologically feel more powerful and in control. So, just a reminder, this is something that you can do before you go to speak in front of other people. Perhaps you're about to go onto stage and you're waiting in the wings. You could adopt an expansive posture for a couple of minutes. Or you could do it in a toilet cubicle when no one is watching before you go for a job interview. But make sure that you don't adopt this posture in front of an audience. Because in fact, a few years ago, some politicians were widely mocked in the press for adopting these expansive postures in an attempt to try and win over an audience. Now, if you do want to try to improve your impact while in front of other people, it's worth thinking about the different types of gestures that we tend to make. And a group of Italian researchers have identified that there tend to be 4 broad groups of gestures. So one group is what are known as the ideational gestures. So these are gestures where your hands are pointing out pretty much the meaning or the idea of what is being said. For example, if I were talking about making sweeping changes in the company, then I might sweep my hands to the sides. Or if I'm talking about increasing profits, I might move my hands upwards. Or if we're talking about reducing mistakes or quietening things down, then perhaps the hands might move downwards. And of course, counting things off, talking about the 4 types of gestures, this in itself is an ideational gesture. Another type of gesture is the conversational gesture, which is a movement using your hands which doesn't precisely mirror a concept or meaning, but seems to go more or less with the tone of it. For example, if we're talking about very exciting opportunities in a company, then perhaps your hands may just move a little bit more quickly. Whereas if you're talking about having to make redundancies or problems or difficulties, then your hands may just move slightly more slowly. And what the research has found is that when people make either ideational gestures or these conversational gestures, that people tend to be perceived as more charismatic and influential. So there are 2 other types of gesture which are known as the adapter gestures. So one type is called the object adapter gesture, and this is where people play with an object. For example, with jewelry such as a ring, or playing with a watch, perhaps earrings or a necklace if you wear it, or even perhaps just a pen when people are clicking a pen repeatedly or moving it around. This can be obviously quite unsettling. Another thing that people do is what are known as self-adapter gestures. So this is where people touch other parts of their own body. For example, people might wring their hands excessively, or they might end up touching their face, often unconsciously, but again, it can be off-putting. And what the researchers have found is that when people make these adapter gestures, either object adapter or self-adapter gestures, people tend to be perceived as less charismatic and influential. However, do remember, before you start to try and fix your body language in front of people, make sure that you have a strong message to deliver first.